Thank you.
You have 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. There's so much illegal activity happening here, and so much complicit behavior on the part of this board with the illegal activity from DPW and the Bureau of Urban Forestry, that with the city attorney present, no less, that I don't even know where to start, and there's no way I can include all the illegal things being done within 7 minutes time. This meeting is a sham. I think the public knows that by now. The board has gone along with illegal behavior, and I would like to point out that this is not just a minor thing that BUF has and Department of Public Works have done. If you look here, there is a responsibility for the maintenance of street trees. It's part of our Section 805 in the Board of Appeals Code, and there are penalties for violating that ordinance, which I have on screen right now in Section 811. It's criminal penalties, and it's a misdemeanor or an infraction. But the fact that this board is not taking that seriously means that it will be done again. The fact that BUF and DPW have called it rocky and things, sometimes things are a little rough around, sometimes we make mistakes. They're belittling the fact that they destroyed trees while an appeal was in process. And that negates the entire purpose of this process. How can you rule on keeping and protecting trees if the city Department of Public Works kills them before the meeting happens? Moreover, these meetings are highly inaccessible, especially that the chat has been disconnected, even though it's perfectly able to be connected for appellants right now, and that was not made clear to appellants before this meeting started. I'd also like to point out that on the meetings page for the Board of Appeals website, there's no information on how to join these calls. If you can see here with public comment, it just says, come down and there's nothing about the virtual meetings that are happening here. Come down to City Hall at 5 p.m. That's the inaccessibility that we're talking about here, and it spans, not just one department, unfortunately. I have asked DPW to include on their removal notification page for these trees that we're talking about here today, that a simple line of text here on the top of this page, this is their tree removal page, which, by the way, it took a year of consistent advocacy on the part of myself and other tree activists, and especially myself, to include people with disabilities in this process, which, by the way, were excluded, continue to be excluded in part, and in violation of the American with Disabilities Act in Title II. I hope the city attorney is listening to this, because these are important violations that are happening. I have asked DPW on multiple occasions to have some text up here that just says, we are going to be deleting these pictures after the posting period, after 30 days. It says there is a 30-day posting day period, but it doesn't say they're going to delete the pictures after that. And that's what they do. They actually go into a public record and they delete pictures, so that we only have here the posting period of May 29th to June 28th here. This is another way to exclude the public and make sure that we don't have a say in this process, which by this board rubber stamping this, the previous item is a hugely awful precedent. I wouldn't even say it's a slap on the wrist. I would say it's a kiss on the wrist. One of the council members mentioned miscreants doing illegal acts earlier in this meeting, and I believe he was referring to the looting that is happening in our city right now. And that could very easily be described as DPW and BUF, who are clearly doing illegal acts by obstructing the public process of appeals. I would like to point out, this is not without precedent. The head of this department, Muhammed Nuru, the previous head of this department, when this appeal was filed, was still the head of this department, was arrested by the FBI under charges of bribery. And this is the article from the Examiner. He was arrested by the FBI in a corruption probe. Here's the article from the FBI agent saying that he participated in a scheme to bribe a San Francisco airport commissioner, and additionally informed several other ongoing schemes to deprive citizens of honest services. Well, guess what? That's what's happening right now. You're depriving citizens of honest services and an honest appeal. This is the department that we're talking about here. This is the same department that has been sued and is notorious for stealing belongings of homeless people, including family ashes and important things like that. But let me go back to the issue at hand, which is these beautiful trees right here. So this appeal, you might ask, why did I appeal this particular issue? DPW and the Bureau of Urban Forestry, or as I like to call them, the Bureau of Urban Deforestry, have continued to shrink our canopy almost as quickly as possible. They cut down 2,718 trees last year alone and don't give a crap about our climate crisis. Or at least their actions express this. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but their actions show that they are not taking our climate crisis seriously and the pollution in our city seriously, or the public good. So these trees, which were healthy, beautiful apple trees, and I have apple trees in my backyard that are not this tall and are over 5 years old. These are not, they try to minimize it by saying these are small trees, but they're already bearing fruit and they are mature trees. You can see here, this is the whole area we were talking about, that I'm talking about right now, where there are all these trees lined up here in this beautiful, what is essentially a miniature garden. But as you can see here, by October 7th, 2019, part of the fence is already beginning to be removed. This is actually, I believe these pictures were taken before an appeal was even filed. And so then by the time that we're actually here today, you can see some of the fence removed and tape, caution tape being put around this. By the time we're here today, the trees have already been paved over. What's the point of a public appeals process that's supposed to be accessible if this is what the city does? It's a sham. It's a total sham. And this board has the authority to say this is wrong, this is illegal, and you should not do this. And I urge this board to say that and to not rubber stamp this kind of egregious behavior. I'd also like to point out that I emailed the ADA coordinator of DPW about numerous ongoing issues, accessibility issues, which are detailed in my brief, and violations of the American with Disabilities Act. I don't have time to go into
30 seconds.
As they just said. I sent this email on March 6th, 2020. It is now June 3rd. I have not received a single reply. Their ADA accessibility coordinator continues to ignore me. They continue to just have me interact with somebody named Nancy Sarai, who has no clear training and understanding of disability needs. And I am begging this board to make sure that DPW puts me in contact with their disability coordinator.